As a Naruto YouTuber for almost a year now, I've been yelling to the entire fan base that you should be reading the light novels. I mean, there is quite literally over 20 books that give you stories of the main characters in the story of Naruto out there living their lives. Full novels that give us looks into characters that we fell in love with in the Naruto manga. Full novels that key us into the true powers of some of our favorite characters after the blank period. Full novels that allow us to appreciate the journey Kakashi's been on, the intelligence of Shikamaru, or the strength of Sakura. And now, fortunately for all of us, Kishimoto and the rest of those who work at Viz have decided that the light novels deserve more eyes on them. And the best way to make sure that those light novels are getting eyes on them, well, make them pretty with pictures. You see, we've already seen 2 light novels greenlit for their own manga. That would be Sasuke Retsudan and the Steam Ninja Scrolls. But in the light of all these light novels getting their own manga, I've decided to go back and read a couple of them. Most specifically, my favorite ones, like Itachi Shinden Book 1 and 2, Gaara Hiden, and most importantly, Sakura Hiden. And it was while I was reading Sakura Hiden that I realized something. The technology to bring Kurama back to life already exists, and has for a long time. And there's no stretches in logic or even theories here. This is concrete 100% bulletproof evidence that the technology to bring Kurama back to life already exists. Now it's whether or not we decide to use it. Before I get to explaining how Kurama could be brought back, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you like me doing a deep dive on the parts of lore that you didn't even know existed, guys, you're gonna love my other channel, The Weeb Commander. On The Weeb Commander, we talk about every anime outside of Naruto. Hell, we just did a video about Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, Kurama's gone. We've made enough videos about this subject for that to be relatively clear. When Naruto decided to activate Baryon mode and collided all of his chakra into Kurama's, Kurama expended all of his chakra, and because Kurama is only made of chakra, Kurama died. Now, we've explored many theories on how Kurama could very easily be brought back, and almost all of them are built around one simple rule. Tailed beasts are just an amalgamation of chakra given shape by Hagoromo. They have no physical bodies, meaning that as long as a little bit of their chakra persists on the human world, they will still live. We see this in circumstances when Jinchuriki die and the tailed beast is reformed somewhere else once all of their chakra comes back together. Now, the theories that we've already talked about regarding Kurama's resurrection are the fact that Kinkaku and Ginkaku still might be sealed, and therefore if they're released, their chakra could be used as a recentering point for Kurama. The fact that Kushina was pregnant with Naruto while she was the Jinchuriki of Kurama, and Naruto was born with 3 whiskers while Boruto and Himawari were both born with 2, which we believe implies that Naruto was born with Kurama's DNA spliced into his, and Boruto and Himawari having 1 less whisker implies that there's a 1 generation removal from Kurama in their DNA, and thus since Kurama lives within their DNA, his chakra will always exist in them. We've also talked about the theory about how Momoshiki pulled out half of Kurama's chakra during Boruto's Chunin exam, since Momoshiki was able to capture Naruto and extract half of Kurama, implying that during Momoshiki's battle against Naruto, the 4 other Kage, and Boruto, he should have had half of Kurama's chakra, and considering the fact that Momoshiki died after this battle, that chakra would then dissipate, treating Momoshiki like a pseudo half Jinchuriki, implying that half of Kurama's chakra should be out there somewhere. Since we saw in the war arc that once half of Kurama was released from the ghetto statue, it didn't have to immediately go back to Naruto. In fact, it chose to go back to Naruto. But we never saw this half of Kurama's chakra returning to Naruto. But we aren't even talking about any of those theories today. See, today, we're talking about tailed beast drugs. Yeah, you heard me, right? See, I've only ever briefly talked about tailed beast drugs when talking about the strength of Sakura and how she was able to go one-on-one against an Anbu captain with a 9-tailed chakra cloak. But how did this Anbu captain acquire a 9-tailed chakra cloak? And what does that Anbu captain acquiring this chakra cloak mean for the revival of Kurama? Well, let's get into it. Before we talk about Kurama's revival, we have to talk about Sakura Hiden a little bit. Sakura Hiden is a light novel about, well, Sakura, but more specifically Sakura 2 years after the 4th Great Shinobi World War. See, in these past 2 years, Sakura has been training, but also running the hospital in Konoha. And Sakura saw that the 4th Great Shinobi World War put a lot of mental stress on the children of Konoha. And thus Sakura created a hospital where she and other medical ninja could keep an eye on the mental status of the children of Konoha. Kind of like a mental health therapy center for children affected by the 4th Great Shinobi World War. And this hospital does incredibly well. So well that Kakashi, who's now acting as the current Hokage, sends Sakura to build one of these in the hidden sand. Because Gaara is seeing a similar issue with the children of his village. However, while Sakura and Ino are trying to build this hospital in the Hidden Sand, Sasuke is going on a rampage. Konoha and Hidden Sand Anbu continuously keep seeing Sasuke meeting with criminals trying to overthrow Konoha, and the information they're gathering is telling them that Sasuke is gearing up for an invasion of Konoha. Long story short, because we can do a Sakura Hiden video at some other point, the man meeting with all of these terrorists and anarchists who want Konoha destroyed isn't Sasuke, but an impersonator. An impersonator by the name of Kido. See, Kido is kind of a genius. He's a former Anbu captain and a genius when it comes to synthesizing chakra-related things. Kido is trying to draw Sasuke back to the village by besmirching his good name and then capturing Sasuke so he can take his Sharingan and make a synthetic one. But in order to accomplish this, Kido understands that he's gonna need a power-up. A power-up that'll allow him to hold Sasuke down long enough that somebody can yank out his eyes. Because Kido wants to create a synthetic Sharingan. And Sasuke is pretty much the only person left on Earth to use as a blueprint for that. And Kido has found what power-up he wants to use. Tailed beast cloaks. See, Kido, a former high-ranking member of the Root, and his accomplice, Magare, who's a medical ninja, have created a drug that induces a tailed beast cloak. But how did they create this drug and what abilities does it confer? Well, first we'll talk about the abilities it confers, because those are very important to the general theory we're talking about right now. Basically, after taking this drug, the user manifests a version 2 Jin cloak. You know, the one with the dark red, ultra dense chakra that basically boils your skin off from the inside. The one Naruto used in the battle against Nagato, or the one that Kinkaku and Ginkaku used in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. If you're confused on Jinchuriki forms, I have an entire video on it. So the user of this drug, upon taking it, can manifest the version 2 cloak. What kind of version 2 cloak? Are we talking 1 tail or 9 tails? Because those are drastically different things. If you'll remember, the more tails in a version 2 cloak, the stronger the version 2 cloak. However, if you don't have control over your tail beast, the more tails in a version 2 cloak, the more control your tail beast has over you. And the thing is, it depends. See, how many tails somebody manifests in this version 2 state is entirely dependent on the potency of the drug they took and how much chakra they can control. So if somebody who was able to control a 9-tailed version 2 state took an incredibly potent version of this drug, they would get a version 2 state with 9 tails. And this happens in the story. Sakura has to defeat him, and she does. So now that we've deduced that there's a drug out there that allows you to be enveloped in and control Kurama's chakra, how was this drug created? And what does it mean for our theory? Well, honestly, the way that it was created is a lot more interesting for us than the way it works. See, this drug was created using 2 ingredients: blood from Naruto's battle against Sasuke in the Final Valley, and the body of a descendant of the Sage of Six Paths. We never get confirmation on like who this descendant was. We're just basically told he was closely related to the Sage of Six Paths, which is basically all we get with Kinkaku and Ginkaku, so we can assume that he was closely related to them. But those 2 ingredients are very important because they tell us 2 very crucial things. One, we can assume the body of the descendant of the Sage of Six Paths is used as fuel. Let me explain. That's an abstract statement. So for things like Izanagi, those who are more closely related to Hagoromo can use them for longer. This is why Danzo was able to use Izanagi for almost a minute, because he had the cells of Hashirama, a reincarnation of Ashura, and a bunch of Sharingan in him, which are derivatives of Indra. Through the combination of both Indra and Ashura's genetics, Danzo was technically very closely related to Hagoromo, because Indra and Ashura were Hagoromo's 2 sons. So by having the genes of both of them, sort of, he was close enough to Hagoromo to be able to use Izanagi for a long time. Same could be said about Obito. Since he's an Uchiha, he has Indra's blood, but he also has Hashirama's cells on half of his body, giving him Ashura's blood. And therefore, a lot like Danzo, he was able to use Izanagi for a long time. So if we extend that logic to the Tailed Beast drug, it actually makes a lot of sense, because one of the key weaknesses with the Tailed Beast drug is that there's a duration, a time limit, meaning that these cloaks aren't permanent. After 5 or so minutes, these cloaks dissipate. So to assume that the body of the descendant of the Sage of Six Paths is used as a catalyst for this reaction and gets burnt up in the reaction is not insane. The way more important ingredient in this mix is Naruto's DNA. You see, the underlying message being relayed here by using Naruto's chakra to create a Kurama chakra cloak is saying that inherently within Naruto's own DNA is Kurama's chakra. That's well and truly the only conclusion we would be able to derive from something like this. Mind you, this is 2 full years after the 4th Great Shinobi World War. Even if you could possibly stretch your logic and say that there was Kurama's chakra within Naruto's DNA because Naruto was using Kurama's chakra in that battle against Sasuke, all of that chakra most likely would have dissipated by now. We are undoubtedly simply looking at Naruto's DNA. And his DNA, if used at a high enough potency, can create a version 2 9-tailed cloak, which all but pretty much confirms the idea that Naruto, because he was in Kushina while she was the Jinchuriki for Kurama, had his DNA spliced with Kurama, meaning that regardless of whether or not Naruto would have become a Jinchuriki on the first day of his life, probably would have had Kurama's chakra within him, which means a couple of things. One, hypothetically, anybody can repeat this experiment. Remember, Kinkaku and Ginkaku were summoned during the Fourth Great Shinobi Worlds War, and they are very canonically descendants of Hagoromo, meaning that their bodies could be found whenever we want to. And it's not like Naruto's all out of blood. Hell, they could even go back to the Final Valley and just swab that again. So the real question becomes, what would happen if Naruto were to take a tailed beast drug? These Anbu members were covering themselves in physical manifestations of Kurama's chakra. Chakra cannot be destroyed. I mean, it can be, but only in Baryon mode. So after this tailed beast drug has run its course and this physical manifestation of Kurama's chakra dissipates, where does it go? Were these Anbu members pulling an albeit small amount of Kurama's chakra out of Naruto to manifest around themselves? Or were they using atmospheric chakra to create additional Kurama chakra using Naruto's DNA? In either circumstance, once again, where is this chakra returning to? Was it Naruto? Now, obviously, if they were deriving the chakra that they were creating their Jin cloaks with from Naruto, then this whole theory, making Kurama come back through these means, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if they were repurposing chakra into Kurama's chakra to create these Jin cloaks, how is that any different from what Hagoromo did? And since, once again, I will reiterate, Kurama and the rest of the tailed beasts are only chakra, how would this not make Kurama remanifest? But here's the thing, that may not even be necessary, because we have actual scientific proof that within Naruto's very own DNA exists Kurama's chakra, meaning that as long as Naruto is alive, technically there should still be Kurama's chakra. And ironically, this is even further corroborated by Kido, who was able to perfectly recreate Sasuke's chakra signature from hair and skin on the bridge where he fought Danzo. But what does that mean? Basically, in order to make the Sasuke impersonator as believable as possible, he had to have Sasuke's chakra signature, and thus they had to recreate Sasuke's chakra signature. So in order to do this, Kido and the rest of his Anbu team went to places where Sasuke battled, and they collected things that would contain his DNA. And by compiling these things that had his DNA, they were able to recreate his chakra signature, which implies that chakra exists within the DNA, which once again would tie us back to the reasoning that Kurama's chakra exists within Naruto's DNA. Now, whether or not this is specific to Naruto because he was an embryo in a Jinchuriki, we don't necessarily know. There's a possibility that every single Jinchuriki carries the DNA of their tailed beast in their DNA. And thus, ever since the binding of humans to tailed beasts, the tailed beast would pretty much be guaranteed to never die. Because should hypothetically the tailed beast use the entirety of their chakra will still exist within the humans that they were protecting. And if you think about it, this is exactly what Hagoromo would have wanted. Hagoromo created the tailed beast to protect humans. That's why he split the 10 tails into 9 tailed beasts and then split those 9 tailed beasts into specific areas to keep an eye on those areas for the future he was building. If hypothetically the fusion of tailed beasts to humans granted immortality to the tailed beasts so that they would always be present to keep an eye on the humans, that would perpetuate Hagoromo's ideal of pacifism between the tailed beasts and the humans, and thus ensure a future for both parties. And it's not like Hagoromo wasn't aware that Jinchurikis could be made. He was quite literally the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails. So genuinely, whether or not Konoha decides to recreate this tailed beast drug experiment and use it to bring back Kurama by manifesting Kurama's chakra once again, or if we just wait for Kurama's chakra within Naruto's DNA to remanifest Kurama somewhere else, it's undeniable that there's avenues for Kurama to come back. And if you think about Boruto's timeline, the time since Kurama died actually hasn't been that long. And when Isobu's Jinchuriki died, it took months for Isobu's chakra to remanifest. So we're not outside of the confines of a timeline for Kurama to remanifest using Naruto's chakra. But once again, if enough people use these tailed beast drugs, or if we gave them to Naruto, enough of Kurama's chakra would be created in order to remanifest him. And I think this might be coming, because as Viz begins to set their sights on the light novels and create manga out of them, the events that occur within the light novels will gain more traction and more people will be knowledgeable on them. And as awareness of these events spreads, we'll have introduced viable means for Kurama's resurrection. But then again, what do I know? Basically, all I know is that if you are truly a Naruto fan, you should be reading the light novels. They're fantastic. And at the end of the day, that might be all I know. But if you guys liked this route for Kurama's resurrection, tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Listen, I know that I've done a lot of theories on this page, but this one feels as though it might be the most bulletproof.